realize how much of a community there is out there
Yep.
for your depression, for your mental health issue, for your anxiety. You realize that it's not unique to you. There's
Yep.
many other people who are just as experienced going through it, and you can lean on them and find information from them and learn from them. Um, because I look back and how many people I know that when people are going through something, they're just not their self, right?
Yeah.
And regardless if they say anything upfront or not, if it's someone that you're close with, you know when something is off.
As
And I was talking to someone regarding mental health, and they say that the best question you can ask someone, or the best question that all of us should be asking someone, is, "How are you doing today? Are you okay?" Right? Because there'll be that one day where they would actually say, "You know what, Terrain? I'm not okay.
yeah.
I'm having a difficult time. This is what I'm going through. I have a lot to deal with. I don't know how I'm dealing with it. I feel isolated because of the pandemic, what's going on." Because I could just imagine, as you mentioned earlier, some people finding out that the person they're living with is this monster of a person. They're finding out that because they're always around, um, they're not as outgoing. They find that they have more time to focus and to think about their problems.
Yeah.
And they find that how much the human interaction or the lack of it was helping
Yeah.
them get through their day. And now, when you're in your home or in your office and it's just you, a laptop sometimes, and your problems,
It's like, what?
yeah, how you gonna function 24/7? Like we've been the world has been going through this since March. It's going to be almost a year.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine how many people are suffering in ways that they could have handled just 12 months ago.
Yeah. And that's why, like, my hope is that whoever makes it out of this, like, we come out stronger, you know? Because this is tough. Like, even like the pandemic, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert. I find that with people, whether you're introvert or extroverted, your biggest thing is like you like choices. So it's like the way I explain it is, if I like my house 70 degrees, but let's say outside is 70 degrees, I might say, oh, it's too hot, it's too cold. It's like I'm not in control of the temperature. It's the same with introverts. While, we were out frolicking, you could easily say, I'm an introvert, I don't want to do this. You have a choice not to go. But now that it's taken away from you, you're like, wait, I actually do like people. I like to be around people sometimes, and so, yeah, it's definitely it's been a different place. It's been a different place. So some good and bad has come out of it. A lot of good, but definitely it's just different. It's very
Totally
different.
different world. Totally different world.
Yeah.
We things that, as you mentioned, that maybe we've taken for granted are no longer an option for a time being, and now we miss it. I think human interaction is probably the
Yeah.
biggest one.
Yeah. I call it going back to the basics. That's why I say it's kind of good, because, which was one of my problems, I tend to be an overworker.
Who would have known that? Like, I would not have guessed that.
I used to be like the top of the, like I love being at the top of stuff. And when things stop or out of your control, you tend to be like, kind of like, what, what's going on? But with that being said, going back to the basics, I myself used to be what I call, we become robots, right? Like you get stuck in your routine, like you either do your yoga, whatever it is. But even before the pandemic, it's like, what did you do before time? You go to work, you stay in traffic, whatever that entails, we become robotic and we became less human. You didn't become empathetic to people's problems. You didn't, it was kind of like just tunnel vision. and you need to go and be the best at whatever your craft is. But we're doing life together, and it didn't seem like nobody cared. Whereas now I feel like while we are in isolation, I think the bigger picture at the same time is that like it's made us more human, because no matter what walk of life that you came from, you can still at least have one thing in common if you didn't think you had anything else in common with anybody, right? You can have at least one thing in common that we're all experiencing, and you can have that type of empathy to connect with someone. And that is just another leeway in a conversation to understand another person's walk of life. So,
And you raise a good point, because now that we're spending a lot more time home and not outdoors doing whatever routines or behaviors that we're doing, now so many of us are struggling with it because all these problems that were always there are in your face. You can't
right,
escape it,
right.
right? And there's some times where I'll have conversations or I'll overhear conversations, and some people were like, "Was this always an issue? It's been an issue for years and years and years,
Yeah.
right?" I spoke to someone who has cerebral palsy, and she was telling me that some of the things that we have now, like the Zoom and the work from home, that community of the disability community, they always wanted it. And the technology was always there. It's just now we're kind of forced. So now they're getting it finally, but it should not have taken this.
That long,
And
yep.
if you look in the news, I know you're an American, I'm in Canada. American news, it seems everyone is going through something,
Don't
right?
get me started.
So, I'm looking at it and I'm like, these issues didn't just happen January 1st, 2020.
Right, right.
These were always there. Is just now the coverage is maybe better, but now we have more people focused on it, because what else are we going to do when we're
Right.
home 24/7 now, right?
Right. And that's why I said everything is about perception. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the problem is, it's going to be perception. So you're going to see it one way. We can watch the same thing and you're going to see it differently than I do, So even with the news, I try not to look at it too much. But even with all the things that had been going on earlier, even racial tension, that was another thing that brought on part of my screaming at with Randall. Like, I think just as the Black community just holding in so much more than we usually have to, it just domino effect. Again, if you don't practice self-care and you're absorbing only negative things, that's why be protective of your space, be protective of your mental, be protective, because that is important. That is the thing that's going to catapult you to whatever direction, whether it's up or down. So, yeah.
It's like my some of my religious friends and colleagues, and to my religious listeners out there, you protect your body, but you got to protect your spirit.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Don't let the demons of others affect your spirit.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And that's yes, yes.